Yep, I think we're live. We're live streaming. Hello, YouTube world.
Oh, in GB land.
We are livening it up tonight on this beautiful Saturday. We had some technical difficulties, so we had to kind of restart the stream. And once again, I'm a bit confused, but yeah. It's still showing Zoom YouTube broadcast private. Well, you know what? No description has been
No.
added to this video.
What?
If you go on, are you on your phone or your computer right now, Pat?
I'm on my computer.
If you go to the phone, the good old phony phone, and see if you see us live, I am
Uh, where?
on YouTube. Sorry,
On
sir.
YouTube. On YouTube.
Yes.
How do I find this on YouTube?
Just type in "the middle-aged guys show" with a Z. You should find us. You don't have
The
this. You
middle-aged
huge
guy.
bronies.
Oh yeah, look at that. Man, we have 33 subscribers on YouTube. Wow, that's cool. That's cool. Oh, by the way, it was Kyle Fletcher, not Takeshita. I don't know
Ah,
why I thought that
Fletcher.
was Takeshita. But now Takeshita's in the ring helping Hobbs beat down Brian Danielson and Claudio Castagnoli. All right, live. Uh, Post Mania Punks in three promotions.
Do you see us?
There's one that says was here that lasted for 3 minutes and 49 seconds, and the next one was oh yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah, it's
Does it
there.
show our beautiful faces? Are we live? You see us?
Live in the sense that there's always like a slight bit of delay, so I was like seeing myself talking from like 5 seconds previously.
Oh, okay, okay. Well,
But
you
I
know what?
guess,
That's.
but I guess that counts
I mean,
as live.
I believe so. It's just
I'm Ron.
it's so the
I'm
thing
Ron
about it
Burgundy.
is that it's not showing the chat like it normally does. You know what I mean? Um, and stuff like that. So I'm just kind of like, why isn't it not showing the the chat and whatnot. So it's just showing very differently. And I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe Jeremy, you know, um,
Screw something up.
yeah, he finagled something with our YouTube account um, and try to, make things challenging for us this evening as we're trying to talk about professional wrestling. Okay. So
He knew we were
this,
going to do a wrestling centric show, so he was like, "Yeah, I think I'll sabotage it."
yeah.
That's a very Jeremy thing to do. So
I, you know, yes, yes, it is. Yes, yes, it is. It is definitely so. Now, let's get down to business. I just shared it on our Facebook page finally. You let me do it. I had to go with the alternative route, like the long way to go about doing this to share something. Redunculous, but it is what it is. It's fine. Anywho, we are on. So let me go back, get this shindig started, make sure this stuff works. Is it going to work? Oh yeah, look. I don't I could actually don't recommend our channel. No, don't do that. We recommend our channel. Please listen to us. Please, please. Absolutely.
do as we
Oh,
command.
so now it's whatever. You know what? I'm allowed to curse. Fuck this. I'm blaming Jeremy on this shit. This is his goddamn fault. 100% though. Anywho
Yeah,
though.
and if he joins us next week and complains about us, making fun of him and blaming this on him, then we're just going to have to do more of that because that's the way it works.
Now the chat's showing up. Everything's hunky dory, Danny. All right, peace out. Let's do this. Okay. All right, Pat. So for the fans, let's let them know we were all at WrestleMania last weekend, both nights. I can tell you myself, I enjoyed both nights. I had fun. Uh, both nights. I had fun with you guys and our friend of the show, Shane, and his son that were with us. I thought night two was way better than night one, just because of I don't want to say shenanigans, but the moments it gave us, I guess, if you want to put it in those terms. In regards to that, I will say that I gave the show an A minus overall for both nights. I listen, for me anymore, I'm just trying to enjoy a show, watch some good wrestling, see the stuff they do, put on the spectacle that is WrestleMania. Listen, we've watched every single WrestleMania that has been around, so we know there's been some duds and some ones that haven't been so great. But at the
Mhm.
end of the day, I thought the show was good. It had some good surprises, some swerves, good storylines for me at least. So,
Well, actually, that was one thing that it didn't have.
oh, storylines. I mean, some storylines.
No, no, no. It didn't. It didn't have Swerve. He works for the other company.
Yes, yes, yes. My fault. The man's on the other place. Which fans, we will be getting to that other company in due time. In due time. We have a lot to talk about with that place. But like I said, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great time. And I like the seats that we have. We had, you kept me warm. So it
Yeah,
was great because we know stadium seats are very
stadium.
compacted.
They're
So
very stadium seats. Yeah.
Pat kept me warm on my whole right side. I was feeling nice. Jeremy was just leaving me to hang over on my left side, but it was good. It was good times. What did you have fun last weekend? First off,
Yes,
really?
I would say for the most part, yes. I mean, I don't have a bunch of like complaints about the show itself. Um, the
Mhm.
important things that needed to happen happened.
Correct.
Um, I don't really have any quibbles with like the outcomes. Uh, so the things you have to deal with when you go to a show like that weren't so bad. I mean, I would say I had a better time than when we went to WrestleMania 35, but different nature of the beast there, of course, because that was still a one night event. Um,
Correct.
the weather was not fantastic that day either. I would still say though that the weather that day 5 years ago was a little bit better than the weather was on Saturday, because even though there was a slight drizzle, and it wasn't even really a drizzle, because like a drizzle implies that it's still kind of consistent. It was more like it was
Mhm.
spitting rain here and there, and not hard rain. It was like a light rain, but
Yeah,
it,
agreed.
it was warmer that day than it was on Saturday. Um, Sunday was much nicer, obviously, weather-wise. The sun was out until it set, of course. Um, but it was warmer. It wasn't windy. I didn't have to switch to my heavy jacket until the main event match, because at that point it was just like, okay, now it's starting to get cold. But yeah, like stadium
Yeah.
seats are meant to cram as many people as they possibly can in there, and it's not meant for bigger people, of which Joe and I would both qualify. Joe height wise, me height wise and width wise. Um,
It's why you kept me
so it's like,
warm.
yeah, you don't have a lot of space side to side or front to back. And if somebody in the row that you're sitting in wants to get out, you have to stand up. There's no way they can crawl over you.
No.
So,
Hell no.
it's not like a movie theater where usually you can, just kind of tuck your legs in as tight as you can and they can still walk past you without you having to stand. But here is, having to stand. And of course, I'm like apologizing to people because with how tight it was and the way my knees can be sometimes, it might, and also just the way I was kind of squeezed into the seat. I wasn't like totally squeezed in, but enough. So, um, It's like, so it was just
Yeah.
taking me a second to get up and up and down from my seat and everything. So like when the other people in our row were trying to get out, I was like, oh yeah, I was like, oh, sorry, 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 so, but
Yeah.
everybody was
It
nice
was good.
about that. You didn't have anybody
Yeah.
who was like being a dick or anything like that, so that was cool. Um, again, like I said, crowds are crowds. You're going to see inevitably people in crowds that you want to mock, you want to make fun of, you want to just roll your eyes at, you want to tell them to put out their fucking cigarette because it's supposed to be a no smoking area.
I know, I know. Overall though, like the people that were sitting around us in the rows behind in the front, overall, it wasn't bad. Really. We didn't really
Yeah,
have too
yeah,
many douchebags. I mean, some of the
no,
people that sat behind us like night one, they were a little bit over the top at times, but it wasn't anything where it was getting
yeah,
like crazy obnoxious. You know what I mean? Everyone was
right,
just
right,
really there, like having, like, truly just having fun. Well, I'm
yeah.
sorry. The, he might have been, so the one fan night one might have been obnoxious for a lot of people around him. But, you know, uh, uh, fist him again, Roman, fist him again. You know, that guy. Um,
Yeah, well,
a couple.
yeah, that guy was a few rows behind us, but he had like a voice that carried enough for us
Oh,
to hear it.
yes.
Yeah, but yeah, we didn't hear him as much on night two.
No, he was more laid back on night two. I think he was caught up in everything that was going on at night two. But yeah, night one, like the
Yeah,
Superman punch, fist him again, no. And I'm
yeah,
just like, geez, man, like what's this? He was just making like wrestling moves. He was making those sexual innuendos, you know what I
yeah. He
mean?
was
So it
he,
was
he was
like,
he was he was doing double entendre type things, and I think I remember commenting to you a couple of times and be like, "Oh man, that guy's really letting us know that he's about his kinks and his stuff like that."
you
On
know what
night
his
one,
his porn tube channel
on
looks like.
yeah, on night one, there was a guy who was behind, who was kind of like behind me diagonally. Well, yeah, yeah, diagonally to the right. So he was pretty much sitting next to Shane and his son. Um, he got a little annoying, but it was of the slightly obnoxious variety as opposed to anything else. And it was really just more about being enthusiastic to be there. But the way that he just kept, shouting the final boss, in reference to The
Oh yeah,
Rock.
yeah.
It's like I'm just gonna because
I
I
want
don't
him to
know
be
if
like,
that
we're
was the
not
way
playing
like
Super Mario Brothers.
yeah, it's like I don't know if like that's the way his voice is because obviously I don't know this man. Or he was just kind of putting on like a little bit of a voice, but the way he was saying it, like he was saying it like by no boss. Um, I'm just gonna hear that for months. So
I hear you
it's
with that.
it's gonna be one of those things that's gonna take a while to purge out of my mind, and everything. But
Yeah.
again, it wasn't like an experience I had many years ago when my older sister was in college and me and my parents and my younger sister went down to Richmond for the it was then called the Colonial Athletic Association. Now it's called the Coastal Athletic Association. We went for their conference tournament in Richmond the one year because my older sister was going to UNC Wilmington at the time and was playing in their pep band. Um, we had in the one game, and luckily my mother and my sister were sitting somewhere else for some reason. I don't remember why, but where me and my dad were sitting, we had these guys behind us, and I think it was UNC Wilmington. I think it was playing George Mason. We had these guys who obnoxious wasn't even the right word. They were basically complete and total utter fucking assholes. Because they were just all they were doing throughout the whole game was just like, shouting shit and it was getting like it got really ugly as I recall. And I was really tempted to say to my dad, can't we complain about these guys? Because I seem to remember they were swearing, and the one guy was just shouting his whole head off the whole time, like, they suck, they blow. And he kept calling them seagulls when UNC Wilmington's nickname is Seahawks. It was just, I mean, my memory could be wrong on this now because it's been over 20 years at this point for crying out loud. Jesus.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I get it.
but I really I can't remember if he was swearing or not. That was the whole thing because I feel like if he was swearing, we definitely could have. ask somebody to remove him because it's like to me it was just like that was he was way over the line with what he was saying. It's like there's being a fan and rooting for your team, and then there's just being a complete total utter fucking asshole. So
Yes.
yeah, so I we didn't have to deal with anybody like that at WrestleMania. So um the other thing that I guess kind of surprised me was how many yeets there were. A lot of yeeting on Saturday,
Hmm.
especially when we were in the concourses and everything.
Yeah.
And then not so many yeets on Sunday, but of course the Usos match was on Saturday, not Sunday. So um, much more Yaz on Sunday because of course LA Knight was wrestling on Sunday.
Yes.
Uh, but no,
Yeah.
overall, yeah. Overall, I can't complain about too much stuff. The worst thing, of course, probably really when you come right down to it, was our parking slash uh getaway situation on night one on Saturday. So we got there a little bit later than we wanted to,
We
and
park
we parked
closer.
in
It takes us forever to get home. We park farther away to get. We got home quicker.
right. So we parked it. I don't know if anybody knows this whole layout of the what I just call the sports complex down there because Lincoln Financial Field, where the Eagles play, where WrestleMania was held, Citizens Bank Park, where the Phillies play, and the Wells Fargo Center, where they run Raw and where they ran SmackDown on Friday before WrestleMania and Raw on Monday after WrestleMania, and that's also where the Flyers and the 76ers play. They're all really like, kind of like right there next to each other, which is kind of nice in a way. Um, but parking is a little weird, especially when you're going for an event like this. They're using like all parking lots, obviously. So we
Yeah.
parked in a lot it was literally right next to the stadium on Saturday, and it was a pretty short walk in and everything then. But it was what, $80?
Yes. eighty
It was
dollars to park
$80
there.
to park in that lot, which unbelievable. When I told it to my dad, he went, "Whoa!" And I was like, "Yeah." Um, and
Yes, it
then
was.
getting out, probably possibly because it was so close to the stadium, and so there were still so many people leaving and everything.
Yeah.
It took us a while to get out, to get going, to get with the flow. So Sunday we made the strategic decision to park in the Citizens Bank Park lot,
Hmm.
which is
A good one.
technically across the street. Um, and because we just figured that it's closer kind of to like the roads that you need to get out of the area. So our thought was if we're closer to those roads, then we might have a quicker exit. And I will confess that we were kind of bad fans in a way, in that
Yeah, we were.
we didn't stick to see the whole celebration in the ring after Cody won on Sunday.
That's what Peacock's for,
Yeah, I think we sat there and we applauded for what 10, 15 seconds.
if that.
And then and then we were like, all right, let's get out of here. And we did everything minus running
Yes.
uh to get out of the stadium, uh out of the Lincoln area, financial field area, probably get out of the whole big walk up to it across the street into our car. And we got into the car and out of the parking lot, and we may have been out of the parking lot and back onto the highway before Cody left the ring. I'm not really
I
100%
think
sure.
we were. I think we were. And the crazy part
Um,
is like as
yeah.
we're leaving fans, there are um like God, what's the word I'm looking for? There were people handing out the drinks that were free. So, some prime drinks that were specific for WrestleMania, some C4 energy drinks. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I wasn't going to, but we're stopping grabbing free drinks, on the way out. And we still made it through those bunch of people, got across the street, hopped in the car, took my time getting out. There wasn't, it's weird. Like when we got to the car, the crowds were kind of like still behind us, still getting across the street. So by the time we got out, it was like only a couple cars ahead of us. And I just stepped on the gas and beelined it to the right lane to get over to get on 76, and we were out. Like I can't tell you the last time I was on 76 at night and it was just cruising traffic. I was like, I'm sure we're going to get some stop and go. We didn't get anything. We were cruising on 76, hopped on 476, and we were like out back up to the Lehigh Valley. So
Yep.
I couldn't have been a better, even though we walked further, but it's a situation where everyone really wanted to stay to see a lot of people, the Cody stuff, which I get, you know, understandable. But listen, that's 2 nights. That's 2 long nights. We had like an hour drive back home or, back up north or whatever it was. So
Hour and a half or so, yeah.
yeah, so it's kind of
And
like,
it's yeah, it's not really a hard drive either once you get
it's
past
not.
a certain
It's just
point.
tedious, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
tedious when you
it
get into
is.
the Philadelphia area and have to like navigate through that shit place,
Yeah,
you know.
especially because, like I mentioned to Jeremy when he was driving home on Saturday, there's that one part I can't remember. It's like when you go from like 76 to like 476, it's like the road's only like 2 lanes and it's very narrow. And it's like if you ever hit that during
Yeah.
rush hour, oh my God. Late at night it's not any problem, but it's I've
And
been caught in that
believe
a
me,
few times
I've been
coming back from Philly.
I've been stuck in rush hour down in
Yeah,
Philly on 76 and 476. And
yeah,
it's not fun. And no matter what detour or you try to sneak off an exit and take the roads, it's just as bad. It's
yeah.
just you're gonna save 5 minutes and it's gonna be even more of a headache. So it's not really worth
Yes,
it.
some of the roads just get very narrow and stuff as you get closer to
Yeah.
Philly, which is the only real problem with it. But but yeah, like you said, because we noticed like they were showing it on like one of like the screens outside the one like kind of sports bar thing that's there kind of in
Oh, the
between
live
Citizens
center or
Bank and
something.
Link.
Yeah, yeah.
We saw Cody still in the ring and he was like we saw him shaking hands with Triple H. We were like, oh, and like we saw other guys. So we missed like all the baby faces, coming out to the ring and everything and celebrating and with them and we missed him calling out Triple H and Bruce Pritchard to come down and everything. But again, luckily all that stuff's on the Peacock version of the show. So I was watching that back on Monday morning.
I watched it the
Um,
other day too. I think Tuesday.
yeah. The other fun thing too was when they set off another round of like pyro and fireworks and
Yeah.
everything. As we were still walking back to the car, you're like, yeah, I think we even said to ourselves then in there, it was like, yeah, imagine how many people are still in the stadium watching that if we were also doing that, we would be caught up in the middle of and everything. And like Joe said, I mean, I had to go to work Monday morning. I went to work a little late. I mean, like I got to work, I think by like quarter of nine, whereas like 8 o'clock is like start of work day kind of thing. But I'm like, I'm staying later as it is tonight anyway. I don't care if I'm going to be a little bit late. It's still better to go into the office than to not, especially with my one boss. He still doesn't quite get the concept of working from home in a lot of ways.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah, yeah.
even
Understandable.
though this company is very very good about working from home. Um, so yeah, it was good. It was I think it was more important to all of us that we just got the heck out of there than you know like fully embrace the moment, especially after what we had to go through on Saturday. We're like we just want to get out of here as quickly as possible, and I would say we got back up to Lehigh Valley and everything. I would say what an hour earlier on Sunday than we did on Saturday.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we did.
At least.
So it pretty
So
much took
yeah,
us an hour to get to the highway to even get home
yeah,
on Saturday.
that's just it. Yeah. So
Yeah,
because
I
the
mean,
show did end,
it worked out.
I think the show actually ended a little bit earlier on Sunday than it did on Saturday. Like I think
It did.
I think the 1, 2, 3 at the very least was counted before 11 o'clock on Sunday, and it was not on Saturday. I know it went a little past 11 on Saturday because
Oh yeah, it definitely did.
we had the second longest WrestleMania match in history, not including entrances, of
Yeah.
which, of course, there were four fairly elaborate entrances that night, too. So,
14 minutes of entrances and 45-minute match. The
yeah,
most drawn out start of a
yeah,
match in history of WWE. the slowest burn I've ever seen in a match in WWE history. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God. And it's weird. Like in the beginning, when the match started, it didn't seem like it, but as the match kind of went on, the minutes, I'm like, all right, it's starting to get a little bit much here with this drawn out. And then by the time it started kicking in, you didn't even realize like how much time had gone by in the match. So
Yeah, when because was it when we were still on our way home on Saturday that either you or AJ texting us told us that the match went 45 minutes?
yeah, I think it was
And I
AJ.
and I think and I think we all went, "What? Really?" It's like, it's like that was the funny thing. It's like generally speaking, long matches feel long. That match didn't feel 45 minutes for whatever
No
reason,
way.
even
That was
though it
weird.
should have.
Yeah,
So because there were plenty of slow spots in that match. It
there
took a
was.
while to get going, then they both fought off into the crowd for a while and then came
Oh,
back,
yeah.
and so yeah, that was interesting. Let me pull something up here. I saw this yesterday.
I think for
Give me
night
the
one, the match that surprised me that wasn't longer was the Usos match, the brother versus brother match. I don't want to
Well,
say I was
yeah, that's
disappointed in that match, but I was a little, it kind of sucked. I wanted that match to be a little bit more than what it was, honestly.
well, let me say this. It seems like the one match that everybody is universally shitting on is the Uso versus Uso match. I know Cornette and Brian Last on his show, they both pretty much said it sucked. Um,
I know Meltzer
what
didn't
I'm
give it a
gonna,
great score either.
yeah, I was gonna say what I'm gonna pull up here in a second
They gave it like
echoes
a
that.
3-5 or 3-2-5.
Echoes that, and that seems to be the feedback I was seeing from a lot of like things that I was just kind of glancing over in like various comment boards. So
Because that
I
was a
know we
match I was
mock,
excited to see.
yeah, I know we mock him and everything, but I just want to kind of go over this because part of my reason for doing this is we make fun of him, at least I do, quite frankly, with his ratings for AEW
Hmm.
when he obviously inflates stuff.
Because Uncle Dave is Uncle
And
Dave.
I felt like he was doing that with a few matches here too. So if I feel like he's inflating star ratings for WWE too, I think I should call him out just as much for that.
Yes.
Though I also do have a counter complaint too. But again, this is more just kind of like an interesting thing. So here we go. Meltzer's ratings for
Night one.
WrestleMania 40. Night one, Rhea Ripley defeated Becky Lynch to retain the Women's World Championship. 4.25. I was slightly disappointed by that match. I don't think I would rate it as high as 4.25. That seems more like a four max, but more like a 3.5, 3 3/4 type match to me.
I probably would have gave it a 4.
I mean, obviously, if Becky was sick, that probably impacted it. It's got to
Yes.
have impacted it at least somewhat.
Oh, yeah, because
But
it's not easy. It's not easy to
yeah,
perform in athletics when you're sick.
right.
So
And
kudos to
again,
her
it's
for
like,
doing it because it's a bit challenging. Because that match
oh
maybe
yeah,
could have been that match might have been a little bit more than what it was if she wasn't sick. So
yeah. So I mean, it's also weird when you're in attendance. You don't
yes,
necessarily see everything because, especially from where we were, our seats weren't terrible. But there
no,
is still a bit of a thing about how much are you watching it in the ring versus how much are you looking up at the screen, that kind of stuff. So I probably have to watch it back. Hold on, my computer's doing something weird.
and I watched a couple matches back already, but I haven't watched the whole thing. I do need to at some point in the next month or so, like watch from beginning to end each match, to kind
Yeah,
of get a better
yeah,
grasp on it because like for the most part I was watching most of the matches in the ring except for some of the crazy matches like the tag match and when they're going outside the ring so you got to watch the jumbotron just because you got to follow what's going on outside because you can't see that shit. But I tried to watch the majority of the show in the ring and not watch the big screen or jumbotron, whatever you
yeah,
want to call it, for a lot of it.
yeah. All right, so the next match was the six-way Ultimate Clusterfuck. Six-way ladder match for the Raw and SmackDown Tag Team titles, which you had to grab both belts for the match to end. So, of course, this led to two new champions. Awesome Truth won the Raw titles. A-Town Down Under won the SmackDown titles, and of course, the Judgment Day team of Balor and Priest, DIY, the New Day, and New Catch Republic were all in the match. Meltzer gave that four and a quarter.
So
Now,
I watched that match over because that was the match I wanted to watch. I uh I kind of mm, I definitely give it a four. I
oh my
might
God.
I
Oh my God, you killed him. Oh my God, you killed
I watched it over on this on Peacock on the Cocky P. Um and I liked it. I
him.
there wasn't there was a couple spots where it didn't seem like it went well. Like, of course, the one where um Reese is trying to throw one of the guys off the ladder and they kind of slipped and it didn't work out. Shit like that's going to happen. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
can't be perfect. So you're gonna get knocked scoring ratings, I guess, if you want to put, in regards to that. But that and there was another spot that didn't seem like it went the way it was supposed to. So I didn't want to be too judgmental on it, but I'm okay with him giving it a 4.25. I think I gave it a four for myself. Um, Watching it over, I was able to see some stuff that I didn't see while we were there. So um,
yeah.
I
Now,
was
now
I
I,
I was good with that.
yeah, now I freely admit it was not as bad as I was thinking it was going to be, as I feared it was going to be.
Yeah,
But it's still the kind of match that I would say I grade on a curve, and there's no way I could ever give a match like that 4 stars. I mean, it would probably max out in the three range somewhere. So, but again, maybe I just need to watch it back, you know.
yeah.
All right, so next match was Rey Mysterio and Andrade defeating Dominic and Santos Escobar with cameos from Philadelphia Eagles players. Three and three quarter stars. That seems fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
Jay
have given it
Uso,
a three and a half, maybe
yeah,
three and a half.
yeah,
The match was fine.
yep. Jay Uso defeating Jimmy Uso. Three-quarter star. Three quarters of a star.
I know 0.75. I was like, oh, okay, okay.
So he was definitely ripping on that one, and it was also it was by far the lowest rated. Well, okay,
Yeah, I think it was the lowest rated
well, I
match he
mean, I
did.
would still say by far it was the lowest rated match on the star. Everything else was at least a whole star above. So,
Yes.
and yeah, it's like, why did they put on such a bad match? Because we know these are guys who can go in the ring. The story was definitely there,
Yeah.
but yeah, I seem to remember just being totally bored by
It was there was a couple good spots, but there wasn't anything like that was grabbing me to keep me invested in the match. And then all of a sudden the match is like over. And I'm like, whoa, like it's over? Are you
it.
kidding me
Yeah,
right now? So I
yeah.
don't know if they were saving them for Sunday, but that really doesn't make sense to me. So
Hmm.
I'm not sure what happened with that match.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give it a quarter of a star. I probably would have gave it like I don't know, a two and a
Yeah, I
half or
can't.
something.
I was gonna say I definitely couldn't give that match any higher than one and a half, if that. But I mean, think about it this too. The most memorable thing that the Usos did all weekend was during the title match on Sunday.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a problem. So
Yeah, it's not a good thing.
yeah. All right. Next match was the as our dear friend referred to it on the phone with me this week, the six woman man tag.
Six woman man tag.
Or
Jesus.
did he say the woman six man tag? I can't remember. It was just kind of
The
funny when
woman six
he
man
used the
tag.
he used woman and man to describe the match. So and again, I
Okay.
understood why he did it. It's one of those things where it's
Hmm.
like, you're so used to saying six man tag.
Yeah,
So but
of
anyway,
course.
So Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, and Naomi defeating Damage Control of Asuka, Kairi Sane, and Dakota Kai. He gave 2 stars. I think it was maybe a little bit better than that, but
I
it
gave it
also
two and
wasn't. It also wasn't anything special.
I gave it 2.5. And
Yeah, two and a
listen,
half seems kind of right to me.
and the thing with that match is, listen, people were still knocking on Jade. She didn't really do anything. She's a powerhouse female. She
Hmm.
doesn't need to be doing flips and super kicks and Canadian destroyers and any of that other fucking crazy bullshit. That's
Yeah.
not her style. It's not what her style should be. Should she be doing some more athletic moves? Yes, but it's her first match on WrestleMania in a tag match. Keep it simple for her. Show her power, whatever the case may be. She did all the moves properly. She was good. Fine. I wasn't looking for her to knock it out of the park. Consistency. I want to see, I just want to see consistency out of her and growth. She's been working,
Mhm.
she's been training with Natalie, with Nat, Natalia, not Natalie, Natalia. So Nat's been working with her, and I know some others have been too. So, and they're the right people that should be working with her. So at the end of the day, let's see where it goes from here. I know she had a squash match, I think on Monday on Raw. Listen, they're gonna do that with her for a little bit. They're gonna go back to that old school squash match shit. But at least it's somebody on the roster and not some fucking enhancement talent from the local city. Here's independent wrestler such and such,
Yeah.
Sasha Two Tone Chains Kabuki,
Yeah.
and she's squashing somebody that no one has idea. The whole Chelsea Green thing was pretty funny. This isn't official. She's like complaining. She turns around, she gets booted. And then she goes on social media and she's like, delete that, delete that match now, WWE. So, they made it out of something. So, which is good. But I just, like I said, I need to see growth and consistency out of her because I do like her overall. Let's just hope WWE can get the best out of her. All right, next match.
Yeah. And here's the I just said just to kind of add real quick.
Yes.
The other thing with shit, sorry. The other thing with Jade in WWE is, and some people may not want to accept this, WWE is going to book her with the assumption that nobody's seen her before, so
Yep.
they could repeat a lot of the same things that were shown in AEW. And if you saw her in AEW, I can understand how that's going to get old. That's going to get a little frustrating. But it's not WWE's responsibility to make reference to anything that somebody did in another promotion, you know? So you're just going to have to give it some time and some patience. And like you said, seeing her not botch anything and seeing her just progress is what's more important right now. The
Yeah.
question is, will she? The questions are still, will she and can she? And I still don't know. But I'm going to be interested to watch because she has the it factor in a lot of ways, which a lot of
Mhm.
people never will have.
Nope.
So if they can get it right, it can be really big. So and it's kind of like a thing I've said when I have discussions with my dad about baseball, about pitchers. It's like there's so many guys, be like, oh man, he's so good in short spurts, he should be in the bullpen and not starting. And I'm like, well, to me, the way that you have to book pitchers is keep running them out there as a starter until they absolutely positively prove that they can't start. And then you shift them to the bullpen because you can always shift them to the bullpen, but you
Always.
can't always put them in the rotation. So it's like you have to. This is not a perfect analogy, I admit, but it just the whole point of you have to keep running it until they prove they can't do it. So that's to me how it has to be. So All right, so the next match was Sami Zayn in the upset of upsets, defeating Gunther to become the Intercontinental Champion. 4.5. Feels appropriate to me.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that one.
Yeah,
I probably would have gave it around 4.25, 4.5. So yeah,
yeah. The Rock and Roman Reigns defeating Cody Rhodes and Seth Franklin Rollins, as Cornette calls him.
Franklin Rollins.
Well, come on, the whole Seth freaking Rollins thing is just dumb. But anyway, so that I just still call him
Franklin.
Seth Rollins. Yeah.
Oh,
Anyway,
that's humorous.
Rock and Roman Reigns defeating Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. 4 stars. No way. Just no way was that a 4 star match. I'm sorry.
4 stars. I think the max I can go with that is 3.75.
I don't think I'd rate that over 3. But again, it's one of those things I might have to watch back. But I'm just saying to myself,
Yeah, that match I have not watched back yet. So,
yeah, because
um,
it's going to take a little bit of effort to watch that one back. It's going to be like, um,
fast forward through the entrances and get to the match.
well, yeah, and it's also going to be like the Aqua Teen Hunger Force episode with the cybernetic ghost of Christmas Past, where he starts, where he says, "This is going to take a long time, so you may want to get some snacks." You know,
Yeah.
it's going to take that effort to even just to watch it back. So yeah. So again, there was a couple that I think he was too harsh on. There's a couple I definitely think he overinflated. So anyway, moving on. Night two, Drew McIntyre defeated Seth Rollins to become the new World Heavyweight Champion. Now, this does not include the cash in, of course, because that's not a real match, and he did not rate that either because again, it's not a real match. But anyway, Drew defeating Seth, 3.5. Here's another one where I thought he was a little too harsh. I think that was more of a 4.
Yeah, I watched that match over actually. One,
I did too.
I
I did
watched the
too.
match
Mostly,
because
mostly to listen to Punk.
yeah, I wanted to
So
see where the commentary was go with Punk that whole time where McIntyre kept looking at him. Um, yeah, I would have given that match a 4. Yeah, I think he was too harsh on that. That was a 4 to me.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yep. All right.
100%.
Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, or whatever their name is as a collective, I can't remember.
I
Defeating
don't even know
Carry,
what they are as a collective.
yeah, defeating Karrion Cross and AOP, the Final Testament, in a Philadelphia street fight with special referee Bubba Ray Dudley.
Yeah.
1.75. So this is the second lowest rated match of the entire event, the lowest rated match from Sunday. It obviously wasn't anything great, but I also feel like 1.75 again was a little harsh.
I'm giving it 2.25
Yeah,
because
I feel like at
Bully
least a
Ray
half
added
star
to that
higher.
match.
Yeah, and it's like you shouldn't maybe necessarily be giving like extra credit or maybe whatever you want to say for a special referee, a surprise special referee. But I still feel like it was, a little bit better than 1.75. You know,
Oh, absolutely.
so.
Absolutely.
Next match, LA Knight defeated AJ Styles, 3.5. Once again, I feel like that could have been rated a little higher.
I gave that 3.25.
3.25. So you think he was actually a bit too high?
Oh no, I meant 3.75. My bad.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, no, that's why I asked because I was thinking like
Yeah,
three and
yeah, I
three
meant three and three
quarters,
quarters.
maybe push it to 4, but yeah,
That match to me was a serviceable. It was a serviceable match. The word I like to use. It was a
yeah,
fine match. I think I rewatched that one too. It was good. But it's one of those things where you have two different styles and they meshed well for the most part. Um, So you didn't get the chance to see some of the stuff AJ normally does and whatnot. But overall, overall the match was serviceable. The person who won should have won. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that. Nothing crazy.
Now what's interesting is they're going to run that match back already with some real stakes to it because the winner gets the shot at Cody. So I find that pretty
Interesting.
interesting.
Yes.
Oh, one of my favorite women of all time is coming out now.
Uh-oh.
Athena is about to wrestle on Battle of the Belts here.
Oh.
And yes, I was being very sarcastic when I said that
Do
because I
we
have,
is tonight a double show with Collision
yeah,
and Impact?
they're doing a Battle of the Belts right now.
Oh, dude, I forgot about that. My bad.
Well, they had Hook wrestle Shane Taylor for the FTW title, and then they had
Ooh.
Roddy wrestle Rocky Romero for whatever title it is that Roddy has now, and then
Mm.
they had stuff with Kyle O'Reilly then too, where uh, O'Reilly wished Romero luck in a promo before the match, and then he came out to kind of pick Romero up off the mat and just applaud his effort, and then Wardlow kicked the shit out of him, and then uh, Roddy joined in. So yeah, they're not putting O'Reilly with that group, which is fine because they shouldn't.
Yes, correct.
Um,
I
but at
thought
least
about
they,
that more, and I don't think he should be with them.
yeah, at least they made a definitive break here. But no, just kind of sidebarring here still. Athena, what was it? It was like several months ago after she had had a couple matches where her opponent got hurt, and it looked like because she was being reckless and everything. And people criticized her for it, and she made comments that basically said, "Fuck you, you can't judge me." So I lost a shit ton of respect with her like that because I liked her again when she was in WWE. I thought that
Yeah.
they maybe missed something with her there, but again, kind of like Moxley, though not to the same extent as Moxley. It's like she left WWE, and it's like, yeah, you're not as good as I thought you were. So
Mhm.
anyway.
Very true.
All right, so the next match, Logan Paul retaining the United States title in the triple threat match against Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, 4.25. I say that's about right, and
I think it's
quite
fair.
frankly, I think maybe I would have rated that higher if they didn't run back the shit with Logan Paul's friend in the Prime bottle crap because they did that last year.
Yes.
I mean, that kind of maybe took a quarter star off for me. The funny thing was though is that Brian Last again on Cornette's podcast said that maybe that's going to be like the new Pete Rose thing.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's like they did that 3 years in a row, WrestleMania with Pete Rose and Kane. So I'm
Yes, they
like,
did.
well, if they do it again next year, then I guess you can say that because they did it 3 years in a row with Pete Rose and Kane. So it's like if they do it again next year, but at the same time, it's going to be like if somebody, if a life size Prime bottle comes out to the ring with Logan Paul at WrestleMania next year, it's like we're all going to kind of go, oh God, who is it this year?
I know. Like again.
So maybe if they get a little bit more creative with who it is next year, maybe if they put somebody who's actually on the roster instead of one of Logan's fucking crony friends, then maybe it'll be better.
Or his
So
brother, maybe. That'd work too.
yeah, that would work. Yeah, that would work. I wouldn't have a problem with his brother doing it. Yeah, so but yeah, I think 4.25 is pretty fair. So Bailey defeating Io Sky to become the new WWE Women's Champion, otherwise known as the SmackDown Women's Championship, as I say it. 4.5.
I watched that match again. I'm fine with that.
Okay. I was gonna say I just don't have a great opinion. I would say that maybe that's too high, but I probably need to watch that one back too. Because it
I
was
liked
during
it.
that yeah, it was during that well, that was also I think I may have missed some of that match when I went to the bathroom and
Yeah, we
though
did.
I tried to time it so I wasn't really missing the match, I think I still might have missed some of it. So but yeah. And lastly, Cody Rhodes defeating Roman Reigns, or I'm sorry, let me rephrase this. Cody Rhodes with Jey Uso, John Cena, Seth Rollins, and The Undertaker defeated Roman Reigns with Jimmy Uso, Solo Sikoa, Paul Heyman, even though he didn't get involved physically, and The Rock in a Bloodline Rules match to become the new undisputed champion. 4 3/4. And I just got to say, when I saw that he gave that 4 3/4, I said, "You son of a bitch. You just couldn't give it five, could you?"
Yeah.
Because to me, that's the kind of match that, yes, it was overbooked nonsense in a lot of ways, but it was perfectly overbooked nonsense in my view.
It wasn't drawn out. That's the thing about it.
Right. And
Each
with the
spot
crowd
wasn't
react
drawn out.
right. And with the crowd reactions and everything, to me, if you're not going to give that match 5 stars, what WWE match are you going to ever give 5 stars? So,
I know. I know. Yeah, I would definitely, I would give it a 5 star. Absolutely. You know, yeah, there was, like we said, there was a lot of shenanigans in there, but it was timed properly. You know, Uso, and then Jay comes out, and then they fight, and they go up the thing, and he spears them, and then they're gone. And then,
yeah.
Rock, then, Cena and Rock, Undertaker. It was like a couple
Yeah.
minutes, like maybe a minute with John Cena doing some stuff, then The Rock, and then the moment in the ring, like from their WrestleMania match. Then, Cena gets taken out, lights go
Hmm.
off, the gong hits, Undertaker shows up, he does this thing, he's gone, and then the match is,
Yeah.
Seth Rollins gets the chair shot, all
Right.
that jazz. So I think it wasn't drawn out. It wasn't like a slow burn at that point. They weren't, dragging it. They were just like, it was one hit, one hit, one hit, boom. Let's finish a couple things here. Let's get to the end of this match.
Hmm.
And to be honest with you, I felt bad for Rollins because watching like on Peacock, like and seeing videos of him, he legitimately was having trouble standing up. Like he was beat up. His
Yeah.
body,
Well,
he took a
that
toll
that's why
in that
that's why I
body.
don't think that's why I don't think we're going to see him for a few weeks at least,
Yeah, I
But
was like, man, he was struggling.
yeah, they were again because it's like the only podcast I consistently listen to about this stuff. I always refer to him, but yeah, Cornette and Brian Last were really praising him because they said it also worked perfectly for the story. Like, Seth was saying to Cody, "I'll be your shield," and of course
Yeah,
he comes out in the shield outfit and in the shield music, and he literally did. It's like he literally like gave up himself in so many ways.
yeah,
So again, it was great for the way that it was booked and like the storyline part of it and everything. And so was with Roman hitting him with the chair. It's like you could ultimately say, why did Roman lose? Because he just couldn't still get over, even though it's been how many years, and even though they've gone back together on a couple of occasions in the intervening years. It was a deal where it was like he just couldn't resist the chance to pay Seth back the way Seth betrayed him, back in what the hell was it? It was in 2014, 2015. I don't remember what year it
yeah,
was.
something
It's
like
so
that.
freaking long now. So that's compelling, to be able to
Yeah,
say, he lost because of it. And why did Drew get be and lose the money bank because he couldn't get over his CM Punk obsession? And why did Gunther get beat? Because he couldn't resist rubbing it in and everything. So it was like when the heels lost and lost their titles, is that they lost because of their own actions, their own hubris, and it's like that is great storytelling.
yep.
So you really got to commend WWE for really getting that part of it right. So
That is some pro wrestling shit right there.
yeah. And the other thing that I liked about with all the run-ins in the title match, like you said, they used the music when it needed to be music. Like you don't really like anytime you see like a run-in or an interference, like they always got to wait for their music to hit first. Nobody just runs out. Well, Jimmy and Solo appeared in the match, just they just appeared.
Hmm.
You didn't need the music to announce them. You did for the baby faces because first of all, you wanted to get the crowd response.
Oh yeah, you're gonna pop
But it
for
was
that.
also but it also was like the counteraction, like so Jay coming out to take care of Jimmy, Cena coming out to take care of Solo. Rock obviously is going to get his music, and it was also really like the announcement of like, here comes the final boss, and then the gong, of course, you have to have the gong, and the Shield music being used, of course. I have seen other people say this, and again, Brian Last suggested this too. There was that second where you thought Moxley, you know,
You
um,
never know.
yeah, it was just like it's like, well, he hasn't been on AEW TV. I know he's been doing spots for New Japan and stuff, but it's like because why would Seth come out to the Shield music, and everything else? So that's why you had to, and you would have to think that, yes, maybe.
You
So
never
even
know.
just for that split, so even just for that split second, it's like, okay. And some people can still be disappointed that it was Undertaker instead of Austin, and I am slightly disappointed for that too. Supposedly they couldn't come to financial agreement with Austin. Hey, if Austin's going to say, well, this, goddamn son, you're going to have to put this many zeros on a contract. You want old Stone Cold to show up? I get that. I still think it would have been better with Austin because of the history, especially the WrestleMania history between Austin and Rock, and the fact
Yes.
that Rock beat Austin in Austin's last match
And
properly.
he would have sold the shit out of that stutter once Stone Cold hit it too.
Oh yeah, yeah. But somebody else also pointed out if Austin had been there, he would have had to stick around. He couldn't do the disappearing Undertaker act. And if Austin's out there then and he starts cracking beers and everything, then the focus is off Cody
Yeah.
in the celebration. And I said, you know what? 1000% correct.
Yeah.
So maybe in that respect, it was for the best that Austin was not there. But again, I just was like, when Cena's music hit and the place exploded, I don't know if you remember, I turned to you and I said, can you imagine what this place is going to sound like when the glass breaks? Because that's what we were anticipating.
Yeah.
Um,
When the
the
gong
place
hit,
went
I was still
the
go
place
was
went
still
plenty
on ape
plenty
shit.
nuts for the gong, but it would have gone more ballistic for the glass breaking.
Yeah,
So yeah.
absolutely.
So, but again, so overall, I think it was fun. It was a good show and everything. So again, for the overall, I don't think Meltzer's ratings were too bad. Like I said, quibbles both ways. Um,
I
the
can
little
nitpick
tiny,
here and there about a couple things, but
yeah, the little tiny bit of resentment that he couldn't give 5 stars to the main event,
yeah,
But I mean, you got to remember that this is a guy who gave Rock Hogan 3 stars
yeah, dipshit.
when he consistently gives Dynamite and Collision matches 4 stars and 4.5 stars and every other goddamn thing. And I'll just never forget the Jericho Nick Gage match where he even said he didn't like it, but because the crowd reacted to it well, 4.25. What?
Yeah. The Hogan Rock should have
Was
been a
there
fucking
ever a
six
match
each.
that had a crowd reaction like Rock Hogan? No. It is still a singularly unique match in the history of the sport.
Yep.
I remember watching it live. This is before I knew any of you guys. It was still a year or two before I knew Matt or I'm sorry, AJ, and everything. But I bought that pay-per-view mostly for that match,
Yeah.
and my dad and I were sitting there watching it, and we were stunned. We just couldn't believe that the crowd turned on The Rock like that. It was just all for Hogan. We just were like,
Yep.
so
Craziness.
I can only imagine what it would have been like to have been in that building that day.
Oh my
So
God. That would be great to be in that building that day for that mania.
yeah, it's
Oh,
like, when people ask you if you could have been in one moment, for anything, it's like, I'm like, oh God, there's too many moments that would be like of too much significance where I would say, oh yes, I wish I was there to see that. So something that's not really that important in the grand scheme of things is like, yeah, I'd love to have been in the Skydome for WrestleMania 18, just for the
yeah.
Hogan Rock match. No disrespect to the rest of that card, but it's like, yeah, just for the Hogan Rock match. So,
Yeah, pretty much.
so Raw and SmackDown were both a little weird. Raw, especially more so than anything else. 45 minutes for a Cody Triple H or a Triple H Cody Rock segment.
I didn't
That was
even
just
watch that
way
yet.
too long. It
I
was
didn't go
way
back to
it
watch
was
that yet.
it was way too long. I mean, they obviously teased a future Rock Cody match, which if it were me, and as long as availability wasn't a concern, I would be doing Cody Rock at SummerSlam so you could do Rock Roman at WrestleMania. because you
Yeah.
can obviously still build a storyline with just a falling apart, yeah, a mega powers explode,
Yeah.
moment between Rock and Roman. But some of the stuff that I was reading this week was saying that if they're going to do Rock Cody, it'll be next year's WrestleMania,
Mm,
which becomes a problem in and of itself then because it
mm,
means that Cody has to be champion for a full year at least. And I say at least because Cody shouldn't be losing the title to 53-year-old Dwayne next year.
nope.
Um, so the issue is going to be, can you keep Cody non-boring as a face champion? We'll see.
Yep. It's gonna be a challenge.
Yeah, it will be. It will be. But so and then there was a lot of people missing from the shows this week. Like I said, there was no Seth, there was no Becky, there was no Roman, um, there was no Gunther, um, a few other people. No, well, Logan Paul appeared in a pre-tape on SmackDown.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think Orton was on either show. They did a few things like they set up Sammy against Gable for the Intercontinental title on Raw
I saw that.
this coming week. They did the thing on SmackDown last night where will lead to the match between LA Knight and AJ Styles for the title shot at Cody next week. Oh, they had the four-way match on Raw, which was won by Jey Uso to challenge Priest, which is interesting. I don't know when they said that match is going to be. I don't know if they said that'll be on Raw this coming week too.
Hmm.
I really don't
I'll look
remember
that
what
up.
they said there. Um, and of course, the interesting thing, I hate to, I'm sorry if you don't know this, and this is a spoiler, but Punk interfered in the match to basically cost Drew the match.
Yeah, I saw the clips of it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about that is ever since he did what he did at Mania, he has not been wearing the brace on his arm now.
Yeah.
So I
It,
feel
it's,
like his recovery time is a little bit further along than what they expected.
yeah. I still feel like they want to hold that match off for SummerSlam, though, because that's
Yeah.
the second big money event.
I'm
Um,
afraid they're going to try to do some Saudi Arabia shit with that match, but that's neither
please,
here nor there.
please, 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 no. Please, no. I refuse to watch those shows. I don't. So, yeah. But the problem is if you want to drag it out to SummerSlam, and we're talking, well, I don't even know what date SummerSlam is, but it's still 4 months away.
Still deep
Um,
summer.
yeah, well, they did it kind of early in August last
Mhm.
year, I want to say. So that's why I'm,
I think they did. I think they did because they wanted to avoid the AEW shit.
yeah. So this year's SummerSlam, yeah, it's early again this year. It's August 3rd.
Okay. So, all right.
But we're still talking nearly 4 months. So can they keep? Well, I know they can keep interest in a Punk McIntyre match that long. It's because
Yeah.
you don't have Punk on TV every week. Um, the question is, what do you do with Drew in the meantime to just keep his fire burning and everything? So, we'll see. And again, they're redrafting in 2 weeks, so
Yeah,
we'll
that's the
see
other
how
thing.
we'll see how they mix things up. And because like AJ was like he was complaining a bit like why do you just have Dragunov show up on Raw to wrestle Nakamura, and why does Roxanne Perez have a match on Raw? And I was like, well, I think they were, even though NXT of course had their show on Saturday, I think it was more about maybe just giving some of the main roster people a rest. And I think it was also, I don't know if they said it with Roxanne. I know they said it with Dragunov, where like Dragunov has declared for the draft.
Yeah.
So you want to give him some main show
TV time.
exposure, I guess, just for those people like moi who don't watch NXT. So I didn't really have an issue with that in that sense. But again, it feels like the next couple of weeks are just going to be a bit of just like a holding pattern until they figure out who they want to put on what roster. And they could switch the shows that the titles are on.
Oh
Um,
yeah, easily.
I mean, you would almost have to switch the whole Judgment Day to SmackDown if you wanted to do that. And unless you're going to switch the whole Bloodline to Raw, I don't know that you want to do that. Um,
They might keep
But
them on their shows.
yeah, you do need to kind of you can't overuse. One thing that'll definitely burn Coney out as a face champion is if you're having him on both shows. Him on both shows this week was completely understandable, but technically he's got the belt that's been on SmackDown, so it's like he really should be on SmackDown now. So
Yes.
we'll see how they go with that. And then
So
obviously the big thing that happened on SmackDown, of course, was
my guy
so Solo flexing his muscle, basically going over Heyman's head from the way they
booked
played
it.
it out, and possibly over Roman's head, bringing in Tama Tonga, who they who they
Super
who they say
excited.
is who they say is Haku's son. Now, to be fair, Haku is actually his uncle and his adoptive father.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's just easier just to say that he's Haku's son, though. But
Yes.
just to help anybody along with that. And if you're going to debut somebody, that's kind of a way to do it because you don't give him a grand entrance. He just comes out of nowhere. He beats the shit out of Jimmy Uso, and obviously, what do they do with Jimmy Uso now?
I read something that they might put Jimmy and Jay back together because
They
the
could,
storyline
but
for the bloodline is, well, I mean, I knew uh, Tonga had signed with WWE. It was a matter of time for him showing up, and I kind of had a feeling he was going to show up right after Mania. Plus, the other aspect is their other relative, I think, is in NXT as well, and that's Jacob Fatu. So there's a
well, that's
rumor,
just what I'm like. Supposedly, Jacob Fatu has signed
yes.
with
So it's a thing of putting him on
yeah
there as well. And that's going to be the new bloodline. And then people are like, is is Solo doing this on his own, or is he doing this from orders from the final boss? You know, like
right
where are these orders coming from? I'm
yeah
honestly excited about this. I know a lot of people and AJ and all that and others have said, the bloodline got stale for a while. I mean, I don't want to say stale. It did definitely slowed down, but I've always been a fan of the bloodline faction in general for a lot of reasons.
Mhm. Right.
So at the end of the day, um, I think this will revive or put new life into it and see where it goes. And I hope they bring Jacob Fatu into the mix. And for Tonga,
Hmm.
I'm super excited for him because I've watched him for years in New Japan with the tag team and whatnot. So he's a great wrestler and he's done some really good stuff on the singles scene as well. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for Tonga to be in WWE, to be honest. So that's gonna be cool as hell. So I
Yeah,
can't wait for I'll be tuning in SmackDown next Friday night for sure.
yeah, yeah. So that was the week that was in WWE.
Correct, correct. Now we want to get down to that other show that is going to be lucky if they're around for another 5 years.
Yeah, I was gonna
If they
say
don't get their shit
now.
together.
Now let's talk about the week that was in a desperate W.
Yes, yes, yes. So
So,
yeah, we'll
so
start with
yeah,
that because I'm going to get to the Jack Perry thing afterwards because I found more
yeah.
shit on him.
So let me just start this off by saying, so Collision last Saturday night was preempted in a way. They pushed it back. It didn't air until 11 or 11:30. Now that was mostly because of the NCAA tournament semifinal games
Yeah,
because they show those on TBS now. Apparently, CBS is too good to show them now. I don't know. Anywho, but let's not kid ourselves that they also know nobody was going to watch when WrestleMania is going on. You know,
very little.
yeah. So on that show, a show that's not in its normal time slot, that doesn't get a lot of viewers anyway, they announced that come Wednesday on Dynamite, the Young Bucks are going to show footage from All In, right? That was the one on Wembley was All In.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think so. Yeah. Yep.
yeah.
All in.
The reaction was fairly negative right away. Most things that I was seeing were saying, what's the point? Why are they doing this now? Are they really going to show the actual footage? And then we were hearing from some of the dirt sheet people, yes, it's the real thing. It's not going to be a bait and switch,
Mm.
which, let's be honest, most people kind of assumed would be. And I
Yeah.
was one of them. And that's not really a criticism so much on AEW per se. It's because people have done stuff like this in the past. Like a lot of people, I think, were making the comparison between when WWF said Razor Ramon and Diesel are coming back, and of course, it was Rick Bogner and Glenn Jacobs. It
I
was
know.
not Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. So, so people were worried about those kind of a bait and switch. So I worked late Wednesday. I came home and I'm like, yeah, I have to turn this on, you know.
Oh yeah. You got to know. Are they going to bait and switch us or are they going to show us the real shit?
Yeah, I'm like, what are they going to show? Now, unfortunately, I was on the phone with my dad at the time, so I didn't have the sound on. So I wasn't really, I tried to unmute it even while I was talking to him so I could kind of hear what the Bucks were saying. Because the way they booked it, well, the way they presented it was the Bucks are showing this footage in their whole thing about being the dick EVPs. And they're trying to tie it into their storyline because they're about to have another match with FTR for the tag belts in the finals of that tournament at their pay-per-view next week. So at the very least, they were trying to bake it into a match at a pay-per-view. I can't even say a storyline because it's not really a storyline, you
It,
know.
it's a
And
at first I'm like, okay, so they use it for a storyline. I'm like, I guess that's okay. But then like I sat back and really thought about it. No,
yeah, there really wasn't a
it's not
storyline. They're
helping
essentially
it's not helping
they were
anybody.
they were essentially trying to create a storyline out of it, which again, fine, because they're also trying to provide a little bit more to it than beyond just, oh, this is for the tag belts, because it's not the first time these two teams have wrestled.
Showing that footage
Now,
makes people think, oh, I'm going to see Punk and Jack Perry wrestle at Dynasty? No,
right.
that's not what
Yeah.
you're
So
getting.
that's the thing. You're using footage of an incident that did not involve
Either one of
you,
them tag teams.
you meaning the Bucks, or right, or FTR, to try to build heat for a match between the Young Bucks and FTR.
And it pretty much backfired.
Right. This is the thing. I think you will find throughout wrestling history when you try to build heat off of something that you can't book, it's not going to work. The billionaire Ted skits never worked really for WWF. When
Hmm.
Bischoff challenged Vince to a fight at that one WCW pay per view, even though it was in '98 and WCW was still doing okay at that time, that didn't really help anything any.
Nope.
Um, Anytime really either one of those companies made reference to the other, it didn't really work. The only time I can think stuff like that worked was like when ECW did that, but that was also because ECW was so far below the other two that, and it was appealing to their audience.
Yeah.
So if AEW thought this was going to appeal to their audience, that's fine, but it's been shown that the Bucks are not exactly ratings draws lately either.
Mm-mm.
You know, it's not even that I don't even think that they have go away heat. I think they have we don't care heat. And I think what happened on the show after they aired the footage kind of backed this up. But before we get to that, so again, they're saying that this incident, of course, they can't mention Punk by name. They do this whole big convoluted thing to explain why they can't mention Punk by name.
Yeah.
Um, they say it as like, we were distracted because this happened.
Hence why we
because we're
lost to
EV
FTR.
because we're EVPs, and that's why we lost the match. And of course, the problem with why that's ridiculous is because when they aired the footage, and they aired the actual footage with no sound. Not saying I don't know if there was sound in
It,
the
it,
because with security cam footage, I don't know that they always record sound. You know?
no, and you know, and that's different. That's like that's security CCTV footage and whatnot. So that
Yeah,
probably doesn't have sound attached to it. You're just gonna have the video of it for the video purposes. Um, in regards to that. Hence, I think, well, we'll get to it because AEW had lawyers pulling the videos off of people's social media because I think there's another issue with the UK and a GDPR or GDRP, some type of whatever thing about taking CCTV footage and then using it for social media platforms or some jazz like that. And so, yeah, people had their accounts like,
yeah.
like, um,
Well, yeah, I was going to get to that too because when I was listening to a couple Dutch Mantel clips today, uh, host, I can't remember the guy's name. He's a British guy. He made reference to stuff being taken down because he even said we can't show the footage because it'll get taken down. You know, so he was like
yeah, because
describing it and everything.
Ariel Hawani had his post taken down because he had the audio of Punk explaining
Yeah.
everything that happened. He synced it up properly with the video,
Hmm.
and lawyers came and like told him, they had like
Yeah.
blocked his account. They're blocking
Yeah.
people's accounts until they take the video down and shit. So it's
Hmm.
like,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah. Donald Stevens rides again.
yeah, I
Fuck
guess
you,
so.
Aubrey. Fuck you, Aubrey. Anyway, so again, so they show the footage, but like I said, there's no sound. So what we see is we see there's other people around and everything. We see Perry coming back. We see Punk walk up to him. They exchange words. Perry's body language is
An arrogant fuck.
get out of my face, fuck you, I don't care what you say. And frankly, what Punk said, he said, which is, if you don't like it, do something about it. That's what Perry's body language read to me.
Yeah, and the thing about it is people are like,
Yeah.
"Oh, Punk said he didn't punch him. He did." It's like, no, he pushed him, dipshits. And
Right.
like,
I was going to
oh, he
say,
took a
everybody's,
cheap
tra-
shot. He was
I was,
pulling his hair back and he took a cheap shot. Like, dude, you don't know what was said in between there. So like,
right.
all people are trying to vilify Punk. Oh, he took a cheap shot. He was playing with his hair. Like, dude, the kid's arrogant. There's multiple other wrestlers that have interactions with him at at comic book conventions that have already stated he's arrogant and he has an attitude, and
Yeah.
he's done
And
it to Bully Ray and he's done it to I think Booker T, and there was somebody else he did it to. He's done it
well,
to a
and
couple people where he's met people like wrestling legends and he's just fucking being a dick and blowing them off. Like you're like, who are you?
yeah.
Like,
Well, and according to what Punk said, the whole incident with wanting to smash the rental car sounds like he was doing it to everybody there. To Shivani, to
yep.
whatever other agents who were like telling him no because Punk said that he was cussing them out, and so yeah. So yeah, that's the whole thing. Some people, not all, some people were trying to say, "Oh, Punk said he didn't punch him, and he did." No, he definitely pushed him.
Oh yeah.
He
He
gave him
pushed him.
like
He's like, all right, bitch. And it was funny, like when you see
he
him
gave him
get
like a hard
pushed, like
push
he's
and a
like, oh
shove,
my God.
which led to the choke and everything.
I don't
And then
think
of
Jack
course,
Perry was expecting him to push him because
right,
like if you like watch it, I watched a slow-mo one, like he has a look on his face like, oh, he really just did this. And then they were like, well, Punk said that Smojo came over, said let him go, and he did. He's like, no, he just yanked him away. No, he didn't just yank Jack Perry away. He went over there, he grabbed him, and there's like 3, 4 seconds before Punk lets go of Jack Perry. And then it's funny when I'm watching it. Hook has his belt, he puts his belt down, he's kind of just looking around like, oh, like what's going on? Do I do anything? Who should I help?
yeah, yeah. And Samoa Joe intervenes, and of course like Malachi Black is there too, which was kind of funny. And
Yeah, he kind
So
of like
anyway,
walked in and kind of was like
yeah,
he didn't get
just kind
anyone's
of almost
face,
like they're
but
saying,
like he looked at Punk and it looked like he said something and they kind of just like he's like walking back with them like we're
yeah,
good. We're good. I'll get him out
yeah,
of here.
yeah. So in a lot of ways, it was a nothing burger because really,
Yeah.
when you come right down to it, not much happened. But again, there was really nothing that was shown in the footage that contradicted what Punk said.
I
And
think
it's
that's
like
what
if
people
you're,
wanted to see.
I think that's certainly what Punk haters wanted to see.
Yes,
But I
they
think
wanted to
that's
see
also,
Punk lying about it and so
but
they could
but
vilify him
but
more.
I think that's also what people who wanted to be able to defend AEW for showing it wanted to see. And I'm not saying that they were wanting to see that for like bias purposes, but I think they were saying that's the only reason that you can show this footage that justifies showing this footage is if it contradicts Punk in some way. So I think that would have been the only reason they were hoping. So that way they wouldn't have to be like on the defensive about AEW being stupid about this. But then of course the biggest problem is you see Punk, you never see his face or even his whole body. I think you might see his arm for a second. But Punk obviously like starts, going over to Tony Khan. I'm sorry, unless there was something behind where Tony Khan was, and even then, some people I think when the initial reports were saying there was stuff that almost fell on him. Well,
Oh
again,
yeah,
it's a
from the
little,
initial grab. Oh my God,
it's it,
a
it's
monitor.
it's impossible to
Like,
see that.
come
But
on now.
that to me is also the most damning thing about it. He said he was in fear of his life, and if he was in fear of his life because of what happened there, then it goes to show you what a sheltered little bubble he has lived in his entire fucking life.
His father owns a fucking American football NFL franchise. There's been worse fights and scuffles in an NFL practice than what
Yeah,
happened. And
yeah,
those guys are three times the size of the two guys who got in the scuffle at
yep,
that point. And
yeah.
bigger than Samoa Joe.
So it was just utterly, utterly ridiculous. And yeah, Tony, how did this help you? Oh, the ratings went up to was 829,000?
It went from the previous week was 752, and then
Yeah.
that week's show was 819. So they had a what, like a 29% increase, and he br- he celebrated that on fucking
Yeah.
Twitter.
He was
That's not
celebrating that
something to
rating
celebrate.
when
That's
that
not a big gain.
and it's not only that it just wasn't not a big gain, it
If
is
you're
in all likelihood an artificial gain. This coming Wednesday, I fully expect they'll be back down to that.
I-
Well, maybe not back down to as low as 750 again, but I definitely won't be surprised if they're back under 800 again. And here's the other
oh
thing too.
yeah, they will be. I
They
will
had been
I,
they had
I
been
would be
consistently
shocked if they're
pulling in
below 700, Pat. Seriously.
they had been consistently pulling in between 9 and 950 not that long ago. And now you're bragging about pulling in 819?
Yeah.
What fucking reality are you living in?
Like if you're going to promote something like that, this shows that yes, you had a 29% increase because there were fans that were curious if you were going to show the true footage or some fake bullshit footage. So you had an interest in 29% of the TV population in America this Wednesday. If this was something that was super significant, you should have hit over a million easily. Something like this. Now, if you would have done this 2 months after the fucking true situation happened, guarantee you would have fucking hit over a million. But now the man that you're vilifying is no longer with the company. And now I'm just gonna give you like this is I had AJ had texted me and said that he thought Dynamite was okay overall, but thought NXT was a better show. When I watched it, I kind of fell asleep during a couple parts after the whole CM Punk footage being shown. Um, but I went back and watched it. As the show itself, if you take out a couple things that I'm going to mention, yeah, it was a decent show. But at the end of the day, like I just reanalyzed it and that it was a shit show. So here's my rundown of my issues. One, as we're talking about, you show the footage of a man who's not with your company anymore to try to build a storyline for two tag teams that were not shown on that footage and had no participation within that scuffle. So it's pretty much it's like you're given a storyline implants that don't need it. Um, you drew very little eyes to that segment. Small increase. On top of that, you made yourself look bad by saying that you were fearing for your life and people are laughing at you now for it, and I'm laughing at you as well. Two, the other issue I have with that show is, and from what I heard, he was advised to say this in his promo. I am sorry, but the whole Will Ospreay, as much as I like him, there is no way you should be taking a shot at Triple H right now after that son of a bitch just had the biggest WrestleMania in the history of the company and is on so much of a high, and you can't pull the promo of like bring a knife or whatever to when someone's rocking a machine gun like that. That was petty to me. That was low down petty. And the shot they took at him grinding on the boss's daughter, that has been used over and over and over again for so many years. That's played out. That's more played out than the fucking what chant. I'm sorry. Like that
Mm,
is petty, and I
yeah,
hope Will Ospreay like regrets saying that because honestly, I'm sorry that was a low shot. Renee Parquette looked a little bit iffy in her facial expressions when he brought that up. And I had a feeling he was going to take a shot at WWE. And he's like, the boss says TV time is expensive, and I got 5 minutes. And I'm like, oh, he's going to say something fucking stupid. That wasn't a good look for the company, not a good look for TK. And you put one of your new free agent top stars as a baby face, but yet you have him cut a promo part of it where he's acting like a heel. Good job. Not how you produce wrestling TV. The other aspect, the third one, is you have, you know, FTR and the Young Bucks come out later on in the show, and what happens? The crowd's chanting CM Punk.
yeah,
The
yeah.
man is living in your show when he shouldn't be. That is a bad look. You never want your fans to be chanting a name of someone who's not even on your fucking show anymore. And in regards to that, there is footage out there on X and social media and TikTok where the footage being shown of the actual event on the big screen, people were recording it and they were saying, we don't care, give us wrestling. Or they were chanting, they were CM Punk chants during the whole damn thing. So the fans in the crowd at the stadium did not give a shit overall, did not care whatsoever. Like you another shot in the foot. And the final thing that really pissed me off, and it didn't click in my head until afterwards. You put a Rhodes in a random main event match against their Samoan champion. Are you fucking kidding me right now? Are you seriously fucking kidding me right now? I'm like,
It's like
that's like
it's like
strike one.
it's not subtle.
It's
We can see it.
it's like they had five strikes that whole fucking thing. Like five strikes that for that show for me. Like one strike after another, like just fucking cut your legs off at the fucking kneecaps, bro. And listen, and this is my thing. I don't know. I don't know how many tickets they've sold for the pay-per-view next weekend. Didn't look at that yet. I'm sure seats are available, but that happens. There were still some seats available here for WrestleMania, but whatever. With that being said, let's see what their pay-per-view buys are now after this, because I'm sorry, you took something that you could have made money off of 8 months ago, but you didn't. And the other aspect of it is you're promoting the guy in New Japan that you didn't talk to for 5, 6 months because you were so mad at him because He cost you one of your top stars or your top star in the company, and now you're gonna bring him back soon. So we're gonna wear the scapegoat t-shirts and make references on the shows, taking more shots that are unneeded. But then this weekend, um, uh, and there was a show in Chicago, that the Rosemont Horizon, I believe it was. It was a New Japan show where, you know, Jack Perry came out holding a Chicago flag backwards. And then when he dropped the flag, and I sent you the little clip video, he turns around and on his leather jacket says, Cry me a river. So I got some more information on that show where, fans were saying chanting CM Punk, but overall the fans were kind of like cheering for Jack Perry to a certain extent. And there was a chant that came out that you got choked out, and then the fans was like, no, we didn't. And they were going back and forth with that, but he kind of the person who reported said the crowd kind of started turning on Perry then or whatever because he started doing Punk's moves in the match. And I think that's where fans started kind of like, okay, now you're taking it too far. So they started to end up starting booing him. He lost the match, but that's neither here nor there. But you're going to continue the storyline. So now my problem is with this. When Jack Perry gets back to AEW TV, is he going to join the fucking elite now with Okada? And he's going to be the scapegoat. And they're
I mean, does
continue.
do- doesn't he have to?
I mean, he has to at this point, but like you're going to continue a storyline and keep promoting a man that's not in your fucking company anymore. So you got the man's in WWE. You got you're showing his shit and they're chanting his name in AEW. New Japan, Jack Perry's going along with this like little storyline. They're fucking New Japan's got people chanting CM Punk. The man's not in his promotion. So it's
Yep.
just like
Mhm.
I don't know what they thought they were going to get out of this, but they're not getting what they what they wanted. It's just sad all around. And I know people don't really there's a lot of people who buy into ratings, a lot of people do and don't, whatever. I unfortunately pay attention to them, not as much as I used to. But listen, at the end of the day, TBS and TNT have to see this and be like, I'm sorry, but even if I wasn't a wrestling fan or didn't know a lot about it, I'd be questioning Tony Khan, like, why are you taking a shot at somebody that's not in your promotion anymore? Like, he doesn't work
Yeah.
for your company, and that's
Hmm.
going to be once TNT finalizes their new NBA deal. AEW's next up for their new TV deal. That's what's next on the board for that. So it's like, why are you going to risk that? Because this could affect your ratings in a negative way. It could affect your pay-per-view buy rate in a negative way. And you got to fix that. Otherwise, when your TV deal rights come up, you might not get what you should have gotten if you wouldn't have pulled a stupid ass stunt like this. And I just think it's a cheap heat stunt. That's really what it is. And he's been nothing but getting crucified by so many people for it. And the bad thing is like I don't want AEW to fail. Pro wrestling's great right now. I still watch TNA. I enjoy watching that. I still watch New Japan. I love that shit. It's just it's better. There's more places. Oh, I'm sorry. They have a sixth strike. Here's the sixth strike. Forgot about this. What they did on Wednesday night negated everything Adam Copeland did the previous week.
Hmm.
You just shit on that locker room rah promo he did. And like, listen, I don't care what his personal feelings are with Punk. I read that, he just wanted to, you know, he knows there's been a lot of bad stuff going on, this, that, and the next thing. And, he said what he said. That's fine. That's good. He's a leader. He's a veteran. I like it. That's what he's good for, in that promotion. That's what promotion needs. But you just negated everything that man just fucking came out and said, and by doing what you did Wednesday night. Like, are you serious right now? You couldn't fuck up a promotion any more than what fucking he did Wednesday night.
Yeah, it's
I just don't know.
I'm starting to think to myself that, Edge's whole promo there was him trying to convince himself that he didn't join a clown show. You know?
You know what? And I I rewatched it, and listened to it a couple times. And I was kind of on the, I agree with you. I'm on the same page. I was kind of wondering the same thing, or if he was really truly trying to motivate the company, let's move forward. But no, we gotta kick the dog while it's down. And good job, Tony Khan.
Yeah,
You hurt your company, plain and simple. You did a
yeah.
bad job.
Well, this is like the analogy I'll use because, of course, his father owns a football team, not American football. Um, what he did this week was a series of own goals, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
So it's just so ridiculous. But um, a couple things. I mean, yeah, what Triple H said that Osprey felt the need to respond to. Um, he wasn't
And he could have
singling
been
out
talking about
Osprey.
Sasha Banks. He could have been talking
Yeah,
about Okada. He could have been
yeah,
talking about a couple people.
he could have been talking about really anybody. Yeah,
I know. There
Um,
was no rumors going around about what he said in his promo too. I heard just rumors. There was no rumors going around about that. Like,
yeah.
that's some made up shit. Like, come on, bro. You're better than that. Mm, frustrating.
Sorry. But what Osprey, what he said about grinding on the boss's daughter, Triple H, when he heard that, probably had a good hearty laugh and said three things. One, he's not the boss anymore. Two, yeah, I did. And three, yeah, I got the bank account and daughters to prove it.
Yeah.
You know,
Like,
so I'm sure again, Triple H probably doesn't care about that because if anything, that to him was probably like a gnat landing on an elephant. So,
yeah.
and here's the other thing about that too. I don't know if it's true that Osprey didn't want to say that. I've seen things that said he did want to say it.
Oh, so
So
you started
I don't
seeing
I
things too.
I I don't know what to believe. The
Yeah,
whole
and
thing
that's the
about like
hard part too, like what to believe. I've
the
seen I didn't see those, but I saw the others and I'm like, man, I hope he really didn't want to say this and he was told to say it.
yeah, I
And
mean
if
just
he did, shame on him, man. Seriously.
yeah, but so that and like the Bucks supposedly not being fully on board with what they said again. I've seen reports both ways about that. So I don't know. It's just I don't really care in a lot of ways either because it was stupid, it was bad in both ways, in multiple ways. So yeah. Um, what did you say? Sorry, I got a Family Guy episode on. Um, I don't get it in so many ways. Just everything about it just smacks of like clown show, amateur hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, Renee looked like she was like trying to avert her eyes. Um,
And then Shivani, like I forgot bring that up. I mean,
Yeah, Shivani looked
he looked like he
absolutely
wanted to be
embarrassed
somewhere
because
else.
he was probably having flashbacks to, latter day WCW. And I read something this morning that I can't remember who had said this, if it was Meltzer, if it was somebody else, trying to justify that, oh, Shivani was selling the fact that he's embarrassed by the Bucks ever since they've been like doing the whole EVP thing and this and the
No.
other thing. I said, no. I said, I'm sorry, no. He's not that good an actor. He knew because and again the reason what totally contradicts us too was what he said on his own fucking podcast where he blatantly told Conrad he didn't fucking care. He didn't want to hear about what Punk had said about him, which was nothing really, and
He
just
didn't
that
say
he
anything bad
mentioned.
about him.
Yeah,
So
he didn't say anything about it, but he just mentioned him. So it's just like, but everything just I'm sorry, again, he did not he obviously didn't want to be part of this. He's still probably also having flashbacks to everything that Punk said in terms about like Jack Perry cussing him out about not letting him smash through the rental car window and just everything, everything. And I had a long conversation with AJ about this the other day, and he's like, well, if AEW bothers you much, don't watch it. And that's a good point. It really is.
Yeah,
But I said, but because Cornette spends so much time dissecting AEW, I feel like if I don't at least try to watch it, like I don't have any perspective, number one, to know what he's referring to. And then two, the only thing I'll believe is what he's saying. And I'm like, that's not
fair.
great either. It's like because
Yeah,
I don't want to be one of these people who just um, you know, I listen to one thing and so I believe everything that that one person says, because that's how you
yeah,
get I was about to say a magic word. Um, that's how you get people with bad political takes. Let's just put it that way. And that can be any
yes,
side. It's not just one side. Do yeah. Again, I expect AEW's ratings to drop next week. I don't know what's going to happen with their um their buy rate or attendance for their pay-per-view next week. And again, I don't really wish AEW ill either. I mean, I was excited for AEW when it started. It's just that they lost me so quick with having second rate, third rate wrestlers, guys who didn't deserve to be on TV, bad announcers. I just don't generally like the style, just so. But I like that people are getting paid to wrestle, and especially like
yeah,
that they're basically siphoning the money from a billionaire, essentially. But
absolutely.
going back to something that you said about the ratings, I only really pay attention to the ratings from just like, okay, what did they pull? Did it go up? Did it go down? Where did the segments go down in the middle of the show? How much was just the carryover from the Big Bang Theory? All that kind of shit. But you
Yeah,
mentioned it, yeah. And Tony keeps mentioning it. It's all about the rights renewal. Like he expects the rights renewal will be the thing that like puts them in the black. And I'm not sure if that's possible. But of course, we don't know exactly what their books are. We just have the speculation and everything. But again, we know how much we know that he's spent a shit ton of money on Osprey, Okada, and Mercedes. And one of the reasons that he just finally cut people who I can't imagine were making a lot of money, but he's saying he's trying to build a war chest. And it's like, we know a few people whose WWE contracts are coming up soon, but it's like he honestly thinks he's going to be able to sign those people.
I know.
Becky's not leaving WWE.
No,
I don't
I
think
think
Drew's
Seth's
gonna. I
contract's
don't.
up in the next 2 to 3 months too.
Yeah, I don't think Drew's gonna leave WWE. But Seth and Becky aren't leaving. There's a couple other people were mentioned on it, and I'm like, I don't think they're gonna leave either. But so, but again, so he's talking about the rights renewal. This is gonna be this is the big thing for us. I don't care if you're still like second or third for cable for the night. The ratings have gone down.
Yeah,
What's to keep them from going down? And why should they give you a huge increase in your fees for declining ratings? That's just the nature of the beast. That's logic and everything. I mean, and again, I know it's a completely different television landscape, but just still so ironic that WCW got canceled 23 years ago and their ratings are like three or four, and even then their ratings are three or four times of what AEW gets now.
yep,
So, yeah, but like
100%.
you said, they were chanting CM Punk. The Bucks come out to help Okada fight off Pac the other night. First, the crowd was dead. They don't care. They
Yep.
do not react. They do not react to these guys anymore. And then the CM Punk chant started breaking out. That is so embarrassing. And yeah, you talked about the footage being taken down, and it was being taken down, I guess, within hours of the show concluding on Wednesday night. And it's like you call down the thunder. Well, now you got it. You can't start demanding that people take the footage down after you've shown it because the immediate impact to you and the feedback to you showing the footage was they were idiots for showing this footage, or it didn't do what Tony wanted it to do. It didn't contradict what Punk said. Pick your reason. The fact that they decided to do that then just goes to show how fucking stupid they are.
Yeah, that was just it was
And
just
and
everything was
and when I
wrong
when
about
I
that.
and what I'm saying they here again, it's really just all Tony. It really is. I don't see how you can blame it on anybody but him. He's the one.
Tony, the bookers, whoever's fucking the yes man who are saying yes to him to do this shit, just
Well,
bad.
that's just it. It's either it's either that nobody has the balls to tell him what's what, or he just doesn't listen. I'm not sure which it is. It's like
I don't know.
I
Sometimes
don't
I
know.
feel like it's a little both.
Well, right. It's like we don't know exactly what the structure is because there's been so many talks about the years about there is no structure or there is no person that's doing this. So it's like I don't know if he has like a Bruce Pritchard, who just goes of
And
course.
he hired
I
that
love Bruce, but
writer.
he's always been
Like,
accused of being he was always accused of being a Vince McMahon yes man. So and everything. So it's like I don't know if there's some. Oh Jesus,
and
that
that
came out of nowhere.
female writer he hired, what's she doing?
She's supposed to be so good with Mercedes?
Yeah, and I'm
Yeah,
sorry. That's another one. She's getting paid a lot of money to do nothing right now.
yeah, and that's the thing.
Film vignettes.
If you weren't going to be putting her in the ring right away, then guess what? You shouldn't have debuted her when you did.
Yep. Because it's a waste right now. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
It makes no sense.
yeah. So just everything was. Oh, by the way, Mercedes attacked herself in that segment.
Oh, what was she attacked by? The bunny
She
that
attacked
was
herself. She wasn't attacked by anybody. She attacked herself.
I didn't know if she had one of those, little fancy sex toys and she actually pressed a button and make it go off because she was laying on the ground like she was moaning like she was in sexual heat, for God's sakes. There was so many memes on the man, internet wins all the time. People were taking that footage and creating crazy memes with that. And it's like, oh my God, here we go. I was like, that's not good. Not good.
Yeah, yeah. So WWE had a great week. They had
Yeah.
a great pay-per-view that a lot of people liked. There's I don't want to necessarily say optimism. I mean, they're talking it's the beginning of a new era, and it could very well be. As they get
Let's see what happens.
as they get much more further into the into the post uh into the post Vince years, which they need to. Um, so we'll see how they go again. So yeah, I think it's optimism. I think it's also just like anticipation. It's just saying, oh, where are they going to go? What are they going to do? It's interesting. You know, of course, their matches still kind of suck on TV on a weekly basis. The way they present it,
Yeah.
So, but WWE had a great week. AEW had a shitty week, and of course, again, they have a pay-per-view next week, and we know what Tony loves to do. He loves to hold these press conferences before the show, and then he
Yeah.
loves to have the press scrums after the show.
We'll see what the pay-per-view buy is.
Well, I'm not even so concerned with that. Again, what I was really kind of getting to here. Oh, we're in the Robot Chicken universe. Um, he's going to be asking. Okay, so Brian Last and Cornette show pointed this out. Sometimes when you hear people ask Tony questions at these things, they have this like apologetic tone to their voice,
Yep.
as if they're saying like, "Oh, I'm sorry to have to be asking you this, but
I fucking hate that shit.
there's no way." Even if they film that room with like the most unapologetic AEW fans, the most sympathetic AEW writers out there. There's going to be at least a couple of people in that room, whether it's like Brandon Thurston from WrestleNomics or somebody else, there's going to be people who are going to, rightfully so, ask him, why did
Yep.
you wear this? Why did you wear this footage? Why did you do this? Why did you do that? You know, there's, there's going to be, he's going to face a lot of questions about that. My guess is that he's going to give one of his 150 word version, 150 word answer versions of saying, I'm not going to answer that question.
Yeah, that's gonna be so fucking annoying. If
And
I was a journalist in that room, I'd get up and walk the fuck out.
exactly, if you're in that room and you take writing about wrestling seriously, and he's asked any and all questions about this, and he starts giving bullshit answers, or he just says, I'm not going to answer that question because this, that, or the other thing, then why should you take a fucking thing he says seriously? I mean, he does these because he loves the attention, he loves the validation, he loves people saying nice things to him. It's like, did this motherfucker have a friend growing up?
Yeah, I
I know
know.
he was the son of a rich person and he was probably very sheltered and shit, but everything he does, every way he acts is, please be my friend. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to release you.
Yeah, bad,
And
right?
I know some people are saying, oh, he needs to let somebody else help him, whether it's Jericho or Danielson or this or that. And I'm like, Danielson, maybe Jericho. Fuck no. It's bad enough that he still takes up so much TV time on that show. He's never been less relevant either. But just Tony, please, we're begging you. Hire somebody. Hire fucking Scott Demore. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
It can't be any
seriously.
worse than it can't be any worse than it is now. And here's the
Like
other
he
thing though.
turned he turned TNA around, so I mean, like that would
Yeah,
be.
yeah. You know, the funny thing is, again, I'm sorry to lean back on the Cornette crutch, but I'm going to have to do this now a couple times. Cornette mentions that when Tony Khan was starting this, Tony Khan got in touch with him and talked to him, and I guess was maybe trying to gauge his interest if Cornette had any interest in coming to work for him. And at that point, I think Cornette had already made up the decision he just didn't want to travel and do this shit anymore. And then when the pandemic hit, he definitely took that attitude. I know.
Yeah,
Um, but Cornette's never said many things specific about whatever conversations he had with Tony Khan, but he's spoken in some generalities about it. And one of them was he thought he was going to beat WWE. Well, not beat, but maybe compete. And they really never have. And you can't say, well, what about when they went up against NXT and they beat NXT? They should have. They had more established people on their show than NXT did still. So that's one thing. But Cornette has talked about the aftermath of the screw job, right? And the Brett screwed Brett interview, right?
mm,
And he has said Vince thought he was going to be the babyface after Montreal. He thought everybody was going to be sympathetic to him when he did that interview. And the exact opposite happened. People hated him for it.
yeah,
And to his credit, and I hate giving him credit these days, of course, but to his credit, he turned it into the Mr. McMahon character, which led to the company's biggest boom period. I think Tony Khan thought he was going to be the baby face for showing this footage. Like people were just going to be grateful that he showed the footage. Dude, no. Are you still that tone deaf? Apparently the answer is yes, because obviously he was airing it because he was upset with what Punk said, and he has every right to be upset about what Punk said about it, as true as it may be, and
yeah,
pretty sure it is. But he still has every right to be upset about it, and he has every right to do what he wants on his show. but he's got to be smart about it. And again, if it wasn't going to contradict what Punk said, and I don't know how he could think that it was going to contradict what Punk said, just again, why are you doing it? So I don't understand how this guy thinks. I just don't. I wish I did. I don't. I mean, and
Baffling.
I'm going to use this line that Cornette used too, because it's a line that he's used repeatedly. WWE supposedly lost a ton of money, but he can afford it because his father's a billionaire. You know, okay. Cornette has given this line a few times, and I think he attributed it to somebody else. I don't remember who it was, but you know what the best way to make $5 million in the wrestling business is?
What?
Start with $10 million.
Yeah.
That's the way Tony Khan. That's the way Tony Khan books. That's the way he runs his company. Sorry, this Family Guy episode is crazy. Um, but Punk said he doesn't book to make money. He doesn't book to sell tickets, to sell pay-per-views. He books to get cage match ratings, to get Meltzer 5-star ratings
Yeah.
and 6 and 7 star ratings. Those are byproducts of putting on a good show that also sells tickets and sells pay-per-views.
Yep.
Those are not things that sell tickets and sell pay-per-views. They're not. And AJ would probably dispute me on this, and I'm sure other people would dispute me on this too. But I mean, yeah, it's just, no. There, you again. This is the Hogan principle, I guess. One of the Bryans died. Uh, Sorry, there's
That's
goddamn
getting
family guy
sidetracked.
episode
Getting
distraction.
sidetracked.
Yes, it is. I'm sorry. I should turn it off.
It's all good.
But no, it's like you have to get people into the building. You have to get people to watch the TV shows. You have to get people to buy the pay-per-views, especially when you don't have streaming really, and you are selling pay-per-views, which AEW is. You
Yep.
have to give people a reason to watch, and those are the storylines. Those aren't the matches. You know, matches don't get people. The percentage of people who are going to watch a show because, oh, okay, so just an example because they were just showing it here. The amount of people who are going to buy that pay-per-view next week because they expect to see a great match between Osprey and Danielson is not as high as the percentage of people who would have bought WrestleMania if it had been a traditional pay-per-view rather than streaming on Peacock and everything. Um, because they wanted to see Cody finish the story,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm not talking about gross numbers here because obviously the number would be higher for WWE than they did. I'm talking about the percentage of people who bought the show. So yeah, just
100%. 100%. But
they can still improve. I mean, because
yeah.
it there is, there's nowhere to go but up. I
I
mean, they
mean,
can still go
they
down.
already set the bar fucking low.
They
So
can still they can still go down. I'm sure he can find new ways to go lower and stuff.
yeah, you could.
I mean, every guy who cuts a promo or comes out for a match says something anti WWE directly,
Yeah. No, absolutely.
something like that. Um, but they can still definitely go up. They do have a lot of talented people on their roster.
They do.
Um, but again, he needs to find a balance. He needs to not let these guys have real power. And here's the thing. I really do wonder how much those EVP titles really mean. In a lot of ways, I think that they were maybe honorary titles in a lot of ways. I don't know how much actual power they have of doing this, that, or the other thing. I think it's pretty obvious that all of them haven't had, I don't want to say haven't earned it, but haven't done anything with it. Like they haven't, it hasn't helped.
No, I don't think so.
You, you know, like I said, the video game's been a bust. I mean, whichever one's wife got, quit or got fired from doing like the merchandising stuff. So again, it's like I think those are really they're really more reasons just to to really be able to brag or to to
And
figuratively jerk off in people's faces. I'm the EVP,
uh,
but
the, and listen, and the other thing too that you know, I don't think it surprised me, but I think Brandy Rhodes is waiting to full out lash out at AEW because, during Cody's interview, he made some comments about, he didn't like the way she was treated on the way out. And Brandy's made some comments about that too. And she, mentioned that, when you see things change within the company that wasn't part of the original plan, you know, um, it's sometimes it's time to move on. And listen, when something starts like that, things are going to change, but it seems like whatever the vision was changing so drastically, it was time for both of them to leave. And if they really, they were treating her like shit, then shame on them, too. That's another thing too. I was like, come on, because she's not one to really hold back unless she has to. So I'm curious to see if she does an interview later on down the road where she gets more in depth about the whole leaving AEW without like divulging Cody's side, but whatever the case
yeah,
may be.
yeah. And I'm not saying that Brandy should have been in any kind of position of significance or especially position of power or anything like that, because she was probably about as qualified for doing anything like that as the Bucks and Omega and really even Cody have been for whatever it was that they were doing. Um, but yeah, if I mean that doesn't mean that she would have an invalid opinion about, oh, this person was doing this or that person was doing that, or there's no structure, or Tony's an idiot, or who the hell knows
Mm.
exactly what it would all be. But you know, yeah, like I said, just because she shouldn't have been really doing anything significant doesn't mean that like her opinion would be invalid or anything like that.
Oh, of
So
course. Yeah, definitely. But
we'll have to well
we'll
yeah,
see
again, like
down
you
the
said,
road with that one.
maybe one day we'll find out.
Yeah.
Who the hell knows?
I
So
think at some point we will with some of that. But okay. We've been on for quite some time. I think it's about time to wrap up this shindig that we call a podcasty.
yeah.
But
And I'll just to add real quick at the end, I mean, like I think we talked about it before we got on. Kenny Omega gave an interview and he more or less
mm,
said that they shouldn't be EVPs. Um,
yeah,
and it also made it sound like the real issue that ever happened was the Bucks versus Punk.
yeah.
Not
That's the way I read it.
or the Bucks and Page versus
Oh,
Punk.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And I guess you can throw Perry into that too, even though he wasn't part of that group and everything. But Adam Page, of course, was. But it really seems like that's where all the problems came from originally. So,
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. All
and
right,
again,
everyone. Go ahead.
it's just very, very strange that these guys just can't seem to get it through their heads that you have to work with everybody, not just your friends.
Yep. Oh, 100%.
So
It's not how the wrestling business works, people.
yeah,
Not all
I
the
mean,
time.
your boss has said sometimes I think conflict can help. Yeah, if it's managed,
Yep. And done properly.
but when it gets to Brett versus Sean levels, then it usually
Ooh.
leads to something bad.
Yeah, so that's some nuclear shit right there.
Yeah.
For
So
sure. All right, though. Well, today was a good show. Yep, we had to bypass the sports because people, wrestling was just that more important to talk about tonight because of everything that's gone on in the past week.
yeah, I
But
mean, don't worry. The NFL draft is in 2 weeks, so
oh yeah, we'll be
I'm sure we'll talk about that in the next few weeks or whatever. So
yeah,
yeah,
we'll get back to our our regular scheduled program. But after that, I hope
Maybe
everyone had a
Yeah, maybe Jeremy won't be suffering from that toothache and he'll join us.
oh yeah, I know it has him down. He's taking so much, painkillers and stuff. He's on a cloud 15. But
Ah, yes. Six above cloud nine.
yes, absolutely. But all right, folks, I'll use Jeremy's ending. Hope you had a good time listening. Download the show. Definitely click on like, subscribe. Definitely so. We have fun doing this. And